So with this video I wanted to explain the problem that I'm having with debugging assembly. I've gotten a little bit better at it, and I've realized that there were these debugging suffixes that you can use, and they sort of do work in assembly, but I don't know if what I'm doing wrong, because I don't get it quite as good as this. Like in the example they have here, they have S would just be like hello world for a const string, and then they have the Unicode equivalent down here. So I can't get that kind of debugging unless I use WinDebug. I can't seem to get this to work in Visual Studio for some reason, and I'll explain why, or what I understand about it. But this is an assembly program that I mostly wrote by hand, and like I said, I'm trying to use the macros that are part of MASM and avoid situations where I'm not using these kinds of macros. So some of this stuff I got from the small is beautiful thing, like this here, this little snippet, because I wouldn't have known how to do that. And mostly Gemini, but I did try using DeepSeek, although I didn't pay for DeepSeek, just to see what it would give for answers. And I found that it really does reduce the learning curve quite a bit, and if you just pull out little tiny bits and pieces to a time, then that seems to be the most effective. But the idea of this program is just basically like a timer, like an egg timer kind of thing. I was trying to think of something very, very simple that should be able to be done using nothing but the user space Windows API, and so that's what this is about. But this is what it looks like. So I'm not sure if I could have done this part a little bit different, but these are the control types that I'm using here, and not everything that I'm doing in this program is the same as how the large language models would tell me how to do it. But I mostly wrote it here in Notepad++ because I get the syntax highlighting, and when I put it in Visual Studio, that kind of goes away. I did notice that Visual Studio, going back, I think it was version 2005 or something like that, you can write your own plugins, so I suppose it would be possible to write a plugin that has syntax highlighting for Visual Studio. And of course, that's a pretty old version, and I'm sure the new versions have it. But so when this runs, this is what it looks like right here. And so basically the idea is you'd put in your hours, your minutes, your seconds, then you click start or stop. But what I did is I just, for this create window for the hours, I just commented out the number and the right, and I did that so that I could put in a string. So I'll put in my name, and then down here, when I click start, it will go here, and when it gets to this point, I'll show you that I can't seem to inspect this Unicode string buffer value the way that I want. So I click start, and then this message box pops up, which is this line right here, this message box line. So I'll click OK, and then that get window text function was called. And what that does is that gets the window text that was in this, that was right here. So this right here is the Unicode string buffer, and so using those format specifiers, if I put in this single character or the string, so I can put in the string, and then I get the C, but I can't figure out how to get the full string, and it's supposed to be null terminated. And I was wondering if that was one of the problems that I was having, but I do that, and it gives me this Japanese, Asian kind of looking character. So I don't know what that is. So I spent quite a while just sitting here trying random things. Even just the explanation point I think is supposed to be raw data. And this, I noticed in one of the GRC screenshots that he uses these locals in MASM, and he was using chars, not wchars, and there was quite a few of them in the screenshot that I seen. It looked like it was on the forums. It looked like it was something that might have to do with when he was doing the beta version of SpinRite. I don't know what it was. So I looked at the source code for a few minutes, but it had stuff like download count and stuff like that. So I thought it might have been something to when he was doing his trial thing. But anyway, the point is that I can't effectively debug different kinds of strings, whether they're ASCII strings or Unicode strings. And I can't do that in Visual Studio, which is really annoying. All I ever get is the first letter. But I can get the full string in WinDebug, and I'm not sure why I'm able to do that in WinDebug, but I'm not able to do that in why I'm not able to do that in Visual Studio. So this is just WinDebug, which I know I know enough commands to actually. So basically, all I did here was this reload F. That just reloads all the symbols for all the modules in the current executable, which NTDLL is just the image loader. So that's what runs when your Windows shell or your Windows command prompt says start this exe program. And so basically it just loads everything it needs to start the exe, and then it gets to timer, which is right here. So if you just click these things, you can just click it, and you click functions, and the only functions that I have, well, I guess I have the initialization function, and then I have the WinProc and the WinMain. So actually, just to get into the source code, I could just click that, and then I get the timer initialization. And if I click it again, I click the source code, it just pops the source code up. So then what I can do is I can just go right here on this line, and I don't know why it doesn't show the line numbers. Sometimes it does. But then I can just how do I add a debugging breakpoint? Yeah, that's what I want, debugging breakpoint. So then this is here as a debugging breakpoint, the same place I had it before. So then I can just go and then put in my name again. And normally this would just be an hour, but like I edited it so I could put in a string. Click start, I get that message box, that's this line right here. So I get start, and there it hits the breakpoint. So now what I'm going to use is this display ASCII, and I can put Unicode string buffer, and it displays it. That's exactly what I put in there. That's the same thing. So I'm not, and you can also view it like this. But again, when I do it over here, it looks like what it's really doing is it's giving me the memory address. So this is really confusing to me. I really don't understand why this works the way it does. But that was display ASCII, and I thought that this should be a Unicode build because that's typically what you would do on a newer system, and that's what Visual Studio should be defaulting to. So there's some piece of information that I'm missing about how, okay, and then I get that Asian looking character because that's display Unicode. So this would be much easier if I could just do it directly in Visual Studio and I had a better idea of why these things are happening. Let me just try it again. All right. And then it displays it fine, and that's the actual message box right there. But I wonder what would happen if I put in more than one. Oh, I guess I. Okay, so start display Unicode string buffer. Yeah, so I guess so. That's pretty much that's my question. I'd prefer just to be able to do this in Visual Studio, and I'd also prefer to have some kind of syntax highlighting and IntelliSense. I guess while I'm here, I also played around with this program here, this WinSM Studio, and this actually does have syntax highlighting and IntelliSense, and it does scan the include files. So when it scans the include files, if you're typing in a function like set timer or create window, it'll pop up and it knows the method or the function signature. So that's good. But anyway, that's my question, is how to more effectively use the debugger in Visual Studio for assembly. Thank you.